Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We were a bit delayed here, but we're now live here in the cage, Sportier cage that is. If you're not in the cage, you're not in the game. A little role reversal here as we have GM, who looks like Terry Tam. Well, you look like Terry Tam today.
I do.
In the producer's role. And we have the man replacing Marty and Peasy, who's gone to the second chair.
Yeah, it's exciting. Exciting times. I know for those of you expecting to see the ugly face of Matt Kerouac, you're welcome.
Well, you're better looking than Matt Kerouac.
But
he's right there.
He's always over our shoulder.
Absolutely.
He always says he was concussed. I think he just didn't know how to smile properly in that photo.
I heard Kerouac was on the road again this week.
Yeah, the Alberta Rockies serving cookies and tea to the people on the train ride. Speaking of train rides, let's talk about the big game this week, the controversial game that was R&D wins 38-33 over the Gladiators. Marco Masiocha, 5 TDs, 3 INTs. In fact, he had 8 different players that caught one ball. Alex Lieber, 2 TDs. Frank LeBeau, 5 TDs, 1 INT. We've seen the video. We'll talk about that very shortly here. But in one word, describe this game. Peasy.
This game or that ending?
Anything.
Anything? I'll describe the ending because when I got to the field, it was right towards the end, and the Eagle on Master Control came running to me with his cell phone to show me the video. And the word I would use to describe it is truculent. Because of that was everyone's response. But to be honest, when you see something like and let's describe the ending for those who didn't see the game. Essentially, ball was thrown up. Roosters and Donkeys were up by 5. Ball's thrown up on the last play by Frank LeBeau. It's caught in the front corner of the end zone by Pat Jerome, who clearly from the video evidence that we've seen has 2 feet in bounds and possession. However, it was called incomplete in the game. I would just say it's a tough call to make, and it's tough to see that the receiver had his hands on the ball and 2 feet in. And I spoke to the referee after the game, and he told me, he's like, you know what? Look, the video, he had 2 feet in. From what I saw, I thought he had 1 foot and dragged the other, and it just didn't make it in bounds. So you know what? It's a hard call to make. It's hard to see it at full speed and not have the ideal angle in the video like we saw. But you know what? It sucks. It sucks for the Glads. That being said, these kind of things happen. Don't put yourself in a position where the referees can lose you the game.
And let's just point out, Pat Jerome was in tight cover. There was the Roosters and Donkeys player in tight coverage. I think it was Jock Void, and it was a jump ball basically. So it was a lot of feet coming down. There was a lot to look at, whether it was possession or feet at the same time, and it was right on the sideline. So definitely a hard call to make.
All right, GM, your thoughts?
I guess my one word would be contested. Not just that play, but the game in general was close. It was neck and neck. We've mentioned that if there's a team that's not one of the 2 powerhouses, so not Roosters and Donkeys or Montreal Silence who are going to step up, it is Gladiator. They're the dark horse team right now who are most poised for upset throughout the playoffs. I would say it shows that our officials are fallible, that they're human as well, where someone will say, look, from my angle then, it looked like he was out of bounds, but same as everyone else. Like, obviously, referees aren't blind. It is a judgment call, but when someone says, yes, I looked at the video too, and he's clearly in bounds, like, we know that we all make mistakes, and not only that, but they've owned up to it as well.
Hey, we should start filming people at their jobs and see what that turns out to look like.
No, that would look ugly.
I handle people's finances. That's a bad idea.
You shouldn't be watching those videos at work, Jim.
That would be bad.
Does Mokan wear pants at work?
Doubtful. He doesn't wear pants in life, so...
When you look at this game, let's say R&D did lose this football game. How much chaos would that have ensued afterwards with them losing? Because they could have fallen to 3rd place, and Montreal's finals could have been controlling their playoff destiny as a potential 1 seed, and Glads could very well be in the 1 seed if they're able to win out the rest of the way.
There would be a slight chance that the final won't be between Roosters and Donkeys and Montreal's Finest. Thank you, Jim. For some reason, I didn't remember the most popular team in the FPF. But yeah, there would be a slight chance that wouldn't be the final game, and it might happen a little bit earlier, but I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think they caused much chaos. Most of what we can expect from Div A has already been set, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show as well.
Okay, I'll ask you two guys this question here. What can the Glads take away? Well, there's this guy over here, Eagle. What can the Glads take away from this near victory that they had in their hands?
everything. They know they're on the right track. The game was decided on one play. Most plays, when the score comes down, can go one way or the other. This one was swayed a little bit more by a referee rather than a player who contestant got their hand on the ball. However, they know that they're close. They're within reach of the top dogs in every game they've played. They're a very, very solid contender. I don't think they need to make any changes. I think they just need to continue as they are right now.
Puzzles?
I think it shows that they can run with the top two dogs, and you know what? Like I said, like had the shakedown happen, you know what? They could have very well led to a game between Montreal's Finest and Roosters Nockies earlier than the finals because of the fact that the Glads will potentially beat everyone else other than those two teams in the finals, and even in the playoffs. And even at that, they've shown they can run with them. So. They know themselves what they need to do get it done. Execution, however, is going to be the other question as to whether or not they can actually do it.
How awesome would have that been if it was a finalist R&D semifinals?
Annoying, actually.
That's a repeat of winter 2015.
Yeah,
it would start to work towards your point that it's not the greatest rivalry in history.
Kevin Wyeth has been with you about that. Anyway,
okay.
Dark Starters.
Lots of people are wrong. It happens.
No, we're just interesting.
Is that even the biggest rivalry in all of FPF?
No, it's not.
I feel like I know I'm dating myself here, so only like a handful of people get it. But I feel like the biggest rivalry was Shockers and Monarchs. There was so much smack talk throughout those two teams throughout the years.
Yeah, but those games happen in black and white. They don't count.
For those who don't know, those are two teams from the early part of the decade in 2008, 2009, and parts of 2010. Mm-hmm. Dark Stars, Monstars, a 2020 tie in which the Dark Stars made the greatest comeback in FPF history, being undermanned yesterday with no Fred Morrison at quarterback, Benny Goodfriend at the helm. He was 17 of 37 for 3 TDs and 155 yards. Rod and Matt Stub, 2 TDs, 3 INTs. John Lewis, 2 TDs. I'll ask this question here, PC, because this is your topic. Well, this is your strength over here. Should Monstars be really disappointed losing, essentially, quote-unquote, even though they tied, to a depleted Dark Starters team?
Be disappointed or be delusional, because
both.
Well, if they're not disappointed, they are delusional. Because I know when they went home that night, they spent a couple extra minutes in the shower. They stayed up just a little bit longer. When they went to the washroom, it wasn't quite the consistency they wanted, because they know deep down in their bowels that they let the game get away and that they tied a team that was missing 4 of its best players. However, I will say the scolding I got from Simon Dagenet after the game was, who cares? You guys still had enough talent to beat them. And you know what? That's on us. It was on us to...
Hold on. For Simon Dagenet, talent is a foreign word in his vocabulary for his teams.
I guess sometimes you know what it looks like when you don't have it. So, I mean,
from afar.
Yeah. Exactly. But honestly, like if they don't get why, and I understand Ryan Reedy's hurt, and yes, he's a big piece of that team, but you played a team without their normal quarterback who's been playing great.
At the same time, no disrespect, because Ryan Reedy is one of my is a close friend of mine and is one of my favorite players in FPF. Ryan would not have contributed as much to that game as we think, with Benny Goodfriend being a pure pocket passer, taking a deep snap, quick release,
but as a receiver, though,
as a receiver, that's fair.
He would have added, because honestly, after one deep pass to Isaiah Allard, the Monsters averaged only 7 yards a pass.
And the three INTs that they threw was to Kevin Gauthier's side, and all of them were picked off. Mm-hmm. Don't throw to Kevin Gauthier.
Actually, also, keep throwing to Kevin Gauthier against Darksiders.
Also, to interject, the biggest comeback in FPF history actually happened to Eagle's team, Hot Boys Hotline, where they were up 18-0 because the team failed to show up and then lost that game against Dope Boys.
That being said, he didn't say the biggest; he said the greatest comeback.
No, that's the greatest as well.
All right, was this I think this was a classic boxing match. This had a 12-rounder label to it. Punch for punch, blow for blow. It seemed like they had you guys on the ropes. You had them on the ropes. Obviously, there was, again, the referee ruling it right with the right away or right clear path foul going the other way.
Yeah, essentially on a convert, and I'm going to repeat the rule here because I'm on the rules committee and I forgot this rule existed.
Last man back?
No, it wasn't even last man back. If on a convert, a player who's not last man gets called for an infraction after a change of possession, an interception, the opposing team gets a chance at a convert. So I've actually seen it poorly and wrongly officiated a couple times this season. I would like to count at least 2 this season alone.
But you got to see it officiated right.
And I got to see it officiated right. And you know what? Like, a lot of people go on the Facebook walls and will hammer referees when they get something wrong. So I want to make sure I went and I posted when Tom Cesare got it right, and I made an ass of myself. So honestly, it was well officiated. It sucked for us because we would have won the game had it not been for that. But you know what? It was the right call, and it had the impact on the game that it should have had.
And it's a great rule too.
It's a cool rule. Honestly, it makes the league unique. It's fun.
This tie, how much does this help and hurt Monstars and Dark Stars? I'll start with you, Pease, and you can jump in, GM.
I don't think it affects either of these teams, really. I know Monsters have a particularly difficult schedule facing 6+R and Predators coming up. But look, these teams have clinched, and both these teams are expected to be two of the favorites to make it to the finals. So I don't think it has that much of an impact at all.
GM?
I agree. First of all, this is also the second tie for the Monstars, though, so it brings them up to 1 essential win.
5-1 and 2.
It's like they lost 1-1. Just split them.
I think is a cause for concern, not in this division.
No.
I think with the playoffs being so clear-cut in B right now and such few teams, it wouldn't be as bad as, say, a tie in Division C or Division D. Division D, especially where there's more teams. The more teams you have, the more a tie hurts you and essentially becomes a loss.
And these are 2 teams that have clinched for a couple weeks already.
Yeah.
And again, they're in the top tier of the division, and again, have a chance to be playing on the final Saturday or Sunday. Final Sunday of the season.
August 8th, I believe, is the
That's the
date
one.
of the finals, which is a Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah.
That means the bar is open. That's awesome. At Brossard.
That's true. Very,
Yeah,
very
buddy.
true. Wolverines Brocation quickly here, guys. Wolverines win 33-26. Tony Tibet, 5 TDs. Phil Cutler, 4 TD passes here. The Wolverines, winners of their last 2. As we approach the playoffs here, they got to win at least 1 of 2 left on their schedule. PZ, are they a team that no one wants to play if they get into the tournament?
I think that's been the case from the beginning of the season. Wolverines aren't a team that will win on knowledge of the game and experience alone. They don't have the athleticism that a lot of the other teams have, but they can be a surprise for a high seed or for a mid seed heading into the playoffs. Honestly, you know what? Like, I don't. Will we be seeing them at the championship? Maybe. I don't particularly see it going that way. That being said, they're going to upset some teams in the playoffs.
GM?
I think so too. We don't give the Wolverines enough credit. When they struggle, we're the first to jump down their throats, but when they do well, they don't get as much credit as they should, I feel, because we deem, for whatever reason, that they play old FPF style football, but it works for them. They do really well at it, and they're former Division B champions.
And Division B finalists from last spring as well.
Yeah, so former winners, finalists last spring. They know what they're doing in B. They're perfect for the cap. It's a team that's not too strong or too weak. They're just right, and I think that they have that potential. I think so long as everyone's on the same page and Tony Tibet and his receivers aren't having a meltdown. Like, there's times where they expect better of each other and they're the first to critique each other. As long as that's not happening, they're golden.
I look at this quickly here, guys. I think the Wolverines, they're an older team because young guys don't want to play this year, which is fine, but I feel like they're gelling at the right time. Now, can that carry over? We'll see. And they have a big game against the Rays this Sunday, which we'll talk about a bit later on here. Brocation, how polarizing are they?
I'd say not polarizing, but bipolar.
That's a great way to put it.
There are weeks where they look great and just everything connects and they look absolutely amazing, and there are weeks where they look like they would not beat a Division C team. And there are weeks where it looks like, look, you just shut down Sean Brophy and you'll win the game, but then there's other weeks they spread it around and they look like an effective offense. Honestly, I want to see Brocation at their best every week, but we haven't seen that consistency out of them all season.
GM?
There's not a lot more I can add to that. Pete's hit the nail on the head. We see glimpses of greatness from Phil Cutler. There's times where he squanders it away and plays absolutely poorly. Consistency is the key word.
I've dated someone else bipolar, so believe me, I know what I'm talking about.
One word, yes or no. Wolverines, they're right now 3-5 in third place. Do they have a chance at first place? Yes or no?
No.
They have a chance.
So yes.
Mathematically, yes.
Yes
One word
or no?
answer. No.
Math.
No, he asked. Okay.
One word.
Math.
Not your strong points.
What's the math?
Yes,
teacher?
Eagle.
Statistics. I don't know.
Experiment correlation, yes.
One word. So
It's replay. Something that's been brought up since the incident on Sunday night, which Eagle, funny enough, Eagle was just filming this for the reaction of R&D to see what they would do if they lost that game. This by sheer coincidence that happened, and look what we have here. Glaz R&D gives us a prime example. Do we need instant replay for the finals on touchdown situations?
I'll say in the finals it'd be interesting. However, we need to do it in a way that it won't slow down the game, and that it won't. It'll have to interrupt the continuous clock because the game is short enough to begin with. And I would say only for finals, if that. Because honestly, how many games does it truly decide?
Well, there's been incidents. I believe Robbie Robinson's team against the
You're thinking of old school
Incredibles.
against...
No,
okay.
old school, yeah, against Expos, I believe it was. The
Yeah.
whole touchdown, was it a TD or not? And then there was, a few years ago, Robbie Robinson's team against the Incredibles. Was he out of bounds when he caught it, which was counted as a touchdown, which resulted in a loss to the Incredibles?
Okay, so can we
And
say...
ONS, because when you say Robbie Robinson's team, most people think it's VPC. It's actually ONS. It was a spring season.
let's also not forget about the Gladiators, Terror Squad, contact on Frank LeBeau. He couldn't tackle Pat Jerome for the extra point for the win. That was contestable
Yeah, but you
too.
can't. That's a judgment call. You would not be able to resolve that with instant replay. So my question is, how many games would instant replay change the result for?
Well, the idea which I brought up to all you guys is that you would have one challenge for the final, essentially, on a touchdown call. If you get it wrong, you lose your timeout. If you have no timeouts, you can't challenge. And
That's
you
fair.
mentioned about times, right? But we all know in the FPF finals in general, there really isn't a time constraint. Games don't go from 5 to 6. It may go from 5:05 to 6:15 because of the overlap of celebrations and whatnot. So what is
the
it?
breakdown of equipment and so on.
Exactly, or what Eagle does, right? But what difference does it make if we spend an extra 3-4 minutes, guys, on, hey, let's get
I mean, look, again, for the finals, I would say, you know what, it's interesting. Why not? We have the technology to do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would say that it may set a dangerous precedent, but there's no way we'd ever be able to implement it for regular season.
For those of you who watch it, listening and not
Good
watching,
radio.
I did
Johnny
the
Manziel.
Universal Johnny Manziel money.
So is it- are you
fiscally,
suggesting
it's
it's in
just
rehab,
not.
or?
It's not possible with keeping the fees the way they are. I personally like how much we pay our fees and would not like them to increase. I don't see its appeal is there, but it's not worth the trade-off.
Okay, here's an idea that was brought up to me by referee. Should we include a third referee for the most important games of the regular season?
That's more expensive
No.
than
How do you decide what the most important game of the
Or
regular season is?
Or you have, in a situation that we had on Sunday, the second referee position themselves in the back on the end zone and just go over to the side the ball is going to land and have a better eye view of that
Then
situation.
other things can happen. They can't see contact. They can't see
Whether someone
anything
was
happen
tackled
line.
on the 1 yard line
Yeah.
or in the end
Change your
zone.
perspective. And honestly, especially in the higher divisions, the ball flies so quickly. And let's put it this way: not all referees hustle as it is. So we can't guarantee they'll be in position to make the play.
But let's also remember the referees do have a guidelines on where they're supposed to position themselves
Yeah.
in a 2-man or 3-man system,
But
and that's
that's what
basically
Mo was addressing, though, is that should the mechanic change? And honestly, I don't know if I don't think that's a solution because I think it'll cause more problems than it resolves.
I think the referees have a better idea on how to position themselves than we do. Yeah.
exactly.
Great topic debate here about referees and whatnot here. Don't forget, follow us on FPF on the Twitter lines, Eagle FPF, PZ FPF, GM Cole 44, Mocha 19 here at the Sportiera Cage. Don't forget, the season is now almost done for FPF, but don't forget you can get your winter uniforms by ordering them now at the Sportiera Cage or Sportiera. Go there on the website.
For those of you who play in other leagues.
Yeah, exactly. You can be
Like there's
soccer,
other
it can be
leagues.
hockey, whichever league you want.
Put in special
Stop it.
promotion code MOCON to get no discount.
You get no discount whatsoever. Speaking of discounts, the Division B playoff picture is slowly starting to unfold here. When we look at the overview of this DB race here, guys, do we know who our surefire number 1 seed is, realistically speaking here, PZ?
The number 1 seed.
Realistically, do we know who it is, or is it a melange of, hey, you guys, Darksiders,
Yeah, I'm gonna say
Monsters?
Darksiders.
And
Of
our
course
viewers
you see.
have the standings on the screen right now, by the way. And there's a link on the Facebook group, on the Flag Plus Facebook group, to
Yeah,
get
it's
to
an
the
Excel
sheets.
file.
It's an Excel file. You can access it to get the current standings at any point in time.
Fair enough. That's not Eagle. But right now, when we look at the overview of this whole 1 through 8, Is there a true legit favorite if there isn't going to be a favorite number one?
Well, look, I'm always going to pick my own team.
So will I.
I do it whether we've got 10 wins or 2. But the thing is that honestly, I think we see a clear division between the top tier teams' division being the lower tier teams. So, is there a clear cut? No. Can I cut the division in half and say these realistically are the favorites? Then sure. Then I would say yes.
GM?
The one thing that doesn't sit as well with me right now is that Darksiders have a tie under their belt, which may ultimately hurt them if, for example, 6+R win out. So just with that in mind, that inconsistency, I have to go with the fact that 6+R will finish on top.
I look at it this way. We know the first 2 spots are division winners. We know that. 3 and 4 we all know will be either 6+R, Darkstars, or Monstars. If you're a 5 seed or 6 seed, that's the worst.
That's a nightmare.
Matchup.
That's a nightmare
situation. It's an
situation.
awful matchup to have in the first round. But then again, if you're a 7 seed playing the 2 seed, which could very well be Occasion or Bearskins, I want that matchup if I'm in the first round. I want to play that 2 seed because I know I can probably have a fighter's chance to win that game in the opening battle.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, that's one thing that I found interesting is essentially the conferences don't matter except for one position in the rankings. I think, honestly, I don't understand why really there's 2 conferences in Division B.
I think it was this misnomer of the idea of, hey, we'll have the actual divisions.
And
but
for that matter, like since there's 10 teams, and everyone's got an extra game basically to play a team they've already played before, why not have a crossover game this season? That could have been interesting.
Could have been.
I think it was planned that there would be a Div A, Div B crossover games rather than not. However, just logistically, it became a nightmare with the strength and such few Div A teams.
Okay.
All right, Wolverines, Raiders, lightweights, commission. They are literally hanging by.
Just at first glance, the most surprising thing about this entire playoff was that the commission were not mathematically eliminated.
They are
weird, right?
one loss away from being eliminated this Sunday if they don't win. Essentially, they have to win out and have help along the way for them to get into the playoffs here.
When you say one loss away from elimination, it reminds me of Gordon Bombay's speech to the Mighty Ducks in D2 right after they lose to Iceland the first time.
There's no Gordon Bombay coaching the commission. Let's call it for what it is. Okay, we're looking at it right now. Wolverines, Raiders, lightweight. Out of 2 out of 3, who are you picking from that group?
2 or 3?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say Wolverines and lightweight, just because it's tough though, because Raiders have a couple of spots where it might be a trap matchup where they can pull ahead with a win. I'm going to say Wolverines and lightweight, just because lightweight currently have the tiebreak over Raiders.
Jim.
I'm tempted to agree. If we're going to sub out one for the other, it's going to be Raiders instead of Wolverines.
Really?
Not Wolverines, sorry, lightweight.
Okay.
Without a doubt, Wolverines are making it in. But it all depends, because we've seen glimpses of hope from Raiders. They had a great game earlier on in the season against the Wolverines, where the Wolverines just basically melted down and couldn't even convert fourth downs. I don't know if lightweight are there right now. They have a great core of players, but they have all the impressions of a team that was jumbled together that don't really have that chemistry.
And I told Simon, and I find he's learning a GM lesson, and I don't mean you, as a team building lesson.
It can be both.
It can be both. But the thing is, it's interesting because you've done this. I've done this. We've both learned that it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And Simon's kind of at that stage of team building, and I've tried to explain it to him, and he doesn't get it. And now he's seeing it happen to his teams.
We're starting to,
in Division B and Division C.
He's discovering gold. Like, look at the pickups into that core, though. Corey Kennedy, great player, fits really well into that system. Adding Marco Macioccia as well was huge for him. It paid dividends. So Simon is still learning at the same time.
Absolutely.
He understands incompletions as opposed to learning
and interceptions.
Let's go over the Raider-Wolverine game, the best game of the week in my books. Here, last time these two teams played each other, the Raiders won 27-19. Who can ill afford to have a bad game as a quarterback? Tony Tibet or Leon Holder?
I say Tony Tibet. Honestly, the Raiders D has moments where they're very aggressive, so if things break their way, they can make a few big plays. I feel that the Wolverines, when Tony Tibet doesn't play well, as we saw in spring finals last year, when he doesn't play well, they completely fall apart. They're like sneakers without shoelaces.
So we're Velcro then.
I wish. Velcro's awesome.
That being said, though, you can't count on the Raiders because it's a different team week after week after week. You don't know who's going to be playing. Like, you know the core is going to be there, so you know Rob White's going to be there, Sean Kennedy's going to be there, Leon Hilder's going to be there. But aside from that, you don't know who Rob is going to have in to rush. You don't know who's playing defense. And there's times where these two teams have faced each other. Winter 2015, these two teams faced off, and Rob White essentially had a cast of Div 5 and Div 4 players playing in Div 2, and Tony Tibet picked them apart. So if they can't field a full roster, it's almost a write-off for the Wolverines.
All right, Sean Kennedy, Eric Kavaljian, who will be the more dangerous receiver on Sunday, GM?
Sean Kennedy, 100%. He's Leon's safety outlet whenever he needs to make a play happen. And no disrespect to Eric Kavaljian, great player, solid player, does well in that sort of in that dynamic. But Sean Kennedy is a freak athlete. He's like a freight train that runs at you, just parting the sea. Physical body, great hands. One of the better players in the league.
Puzzles?
I'm going to say Eric Kavaljian.
Oh,
I
okay.
disagree. Honestly, just because of exactly what I said with Wolverines and with Tony Tibet. And to the same point, he fills the Sean Kennedy role for Tony Tibet. He's the safety outlet. He's the guy making the intermediate sort of 7 and 9 yard catch. He's up
I would
in
argue that
production.
would be Shane Paquette on that team.
Everyone on that team basically catches 7 yard average. But the thing is that, like, that's fine. Shane Paquette, yes, but we're seeing Paquette have less and less volume of catches, and Kavaljian's volume is starting to increase in recent seasons. So in that way, I actually, when I first started reading the question, I thought it was going to be Sean Kennedy or Shane Paquette, but I actually have to give you credit, Mo. Eric Kavaljian has become that receiver for Tony Tibet.
Go-to guy. Whoever loses this game, can we kiss the playoff hopes goodbye, yes or no? Wolverines, if they lose. Raiders, if they lose this game, are they done?
Wolverines, no. Raiders, yes-ish. Because Wolverines...
I don't know about that. On paper, I don't think it's so black and white because if the Wolverines lose this one, they have no head-to-head on the Raiders.
No, they lose that.
Exactly. They have no head-to-head, and that's the big
But
issue.
that's the one... Then they have the head-to-head with lightweight, though. And lightweight is still involved in that equation.
And lightweight's one game behind Wolverines, as we speak, overall.
Overall, and they have the tie break. So,
It's an odd sort of
honestly-
love triangle.
yeah. It's a disaster love triangle. Like, it's Betty and Veronica, and they all hate Archie in this scenario. And Archie might be gay in this one. So,
Maybe he can get married.
he can now.
Potentially. As the cage is rattling right now, excited Raider fans behind us, actually. It's now time for the Ask Marty segment.
All right.
Where Marty will be asking questions to GM and I guess. So we'll give you a quick answer here, Marty.
I'm not Marty, unfortunately, but because Marty wouldn't be asking himself, because then we have questions about Marty. But we have 2 full mailbags, Mo.
Yes.
And I want to know which mailbag should I pull from. Should I pull from Conference B, Division B Conference A, or Division B Conference B?
We'll go with which one, Jim?
I'm going to go with B because it's the more fun one.
Yes. We'll go with
And
B.
leave Matt with the other conference.
Yes, the other unknown conference.
All right. Well, the first letter actually comes from Predators, and it says it's actually signed the rest of the Predators, and it says, "Dear Marty," who's not here this week with Villarreal and such, according to Mokan.
The Alberta Rockies.
Absolutely. It says, "Dear Marty, we don't have a quarterback. We've struggled season in, season out. Every time we get close, we choke. Can James Floriani realistically lead us to a championship?"
No. No.
All right,
Absolutely
Marty.
not.
Why not?
I look at that team very inconsistent at times. They look dominant against the inferior competition of Division B. When they play the tougher teams, they don't show up. It seems like they just lose their focus and they just don't play as well as opposed to dominating the smaller kittens of the whole SPCA pool, so to speak here. So no.
So it was the rest of the Predators who wrote in?
Absolutely.
No rest of the Predators. James Floriani cannot lead you into that promised land because, to piggyback on Mo's comment, you are the problem. You don't show up when it's time to show up. You lack that drive. You lack that intensity. you're as much to blame in this scenario.
All right. The next one actually comes in from 6+R. And I think it's Ryan Phillips himself writing it. It looks like his handwriting.
Well, he always writes this roster for the team, so yes.
Exactly. And he's got like a calligraphy sort of hand.
Is every third word bud or buddy or thanks man or?
Yeah, he's
That's a South Shore thing.
That's Ross
though.
Castleton.
South Shore thing.
Yeah, but it's less angry than Ross would like.
Buddy.
So
Buddy.
the thing is, in this letter it says, "Dear Marty, we got lucky and we won a lot of our games by 1 point. I'm starting to worry that our team might not be as strong as I thought we were entering the season. Please tell me I'm wrong." Winking face, emoticon. It was an electronic letter, so
Emojis.
everything I
We'll
said.
use emojis. I will
calligraphy.
say this, Ryan Phillips, if that was you that wrote into us in our Dear Marty segment. The end of the day, this team is very talented. Justin Blanchard makes your team a lot better, more lethal on offense than even on defense. The question that will be come playoff time, as it was last winter, when the going gets tough, are you guys going to be able to push back and make your way through, unlike you did in your playoff loss to Ryan Reedy's team? I want to see how much toughness they have mentally speaking here. So, yes, you guys are talented, but no, let's see what you can do on the football field come late July into August.
And Eagle is pointing something at you.
It says Jay Blanche is an All-Star MVP.
Yes.
Just
Finals MVP Justin Blanchard.
Your thoughts?
That was a PS from Ryan Phillips.
So the question from 6+R, or more specifically Ryan Phillips, was, tell me I'm wrong that my team's not as strong as I thought it would be. You're not wrong, but that's not a problem.
Okay.
This division, especially Conference B, has a lot of depth, and the fact that you're winning these close matchups is testament to the team's ability to adjust, and not only that, but Fred Vien's ability to convert on the convert. He can make those 1 point and 2 points count, and that's huge come playoff time. A lot of games are decided by less than a touchdown, and you're already battle ready. So you're not as strong as you thought you were, but that's not a problem.
We got another one in here from the Raiders. They addressed it to Nicholas Pickles, so it might have gone to the wrong mailbag.
Video and Arcade Top 10!
But they do ask, they start by making a statement. Dear Nicholas Pickles, Commissioner Rob Campana hates us and put us in this brutal division. How different would our season have been had we been in Conference A?
Stop complaining, and we'll see you in the playoffs.
All right.
Herm Edwards, you play the game. You got to play the game.
That's fair.
Play the game to win.
I'm glad you got an email from Herm Edwards that answered the email to Nicholas Pickles. Reaching down into the mailbag, we get one from Monstars. And the Monstars letter says...
How many people write to the show?
It's a popular show, man.
Amazing.
It's a popular show.
It's amazing. So the Monstars letter says, Dear Marty, we are a team that at times lack identity. Please help us define what our true identity is heading into the playoffs.
Well, for starters, you guys stop believing that, hey, you would have beaten a fully loaded Darkstar team. You guys would have lost, first and foremost. Secondly, who have you beaten so far? Finally, your team in the playoffs. Are you ready to step up to the plate and hit a home run, or are you going to go for that little bloop single like you've done so far this season?
Most got his sass on tonight.
Wow.
I
I'm
like
trying to do my
it.
Marty impression, that's why.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
And
Do you have
also,
any thoughts?
we're delayed as well. That's why I'm a little bit annoyed.
There's times where you see magic from the Monstars, and there's times where you don't. So I'm just piggybacking on Mo because I can't compare to what Mo just said.
Picks of the
right.
week, please. Let's go.
No,
Yeah.
we got one last one.
One last one. I'm a little
One
bit
last
annoyed
one.
here.
I didn't know. I didn't know this was coming in. That this wasn't me who wrote this. This is one of my teammates, obviously from Darksiders, who said, "We like being the underdogs. Mo Khan, why is it that you've forsaken us with your curse?"
Last spring, I picked the Legends to win Division B when Don Shepard mocked me, laughed at me, pointed fingers at me. This year's the Darksiders, my friends.
Fair. That's fair.
That was it.
All right.
Okay.
I lost the script momentarily, so let's stall.
We will not stall.
Gee,
How do you feel, though, about having such high faith by your peers around you? This has never been the case for a Pease-led team.
Well,
Then again, it's a Morissette
the 10-0
team.
checkmate, the Morissette checkmate. It's happened. We've had some good teams before. This is probably the strongest roster. Honestly, it's weird because there's a lot of pressure, but at the same time, this is the most stress-free team I've ever been on. No one's ever upset. No one ever gets rattled by a mistake. No one ever is really worried. There's a turnover on downs. We don't really care. Fred shows up, doesn't even know who we're playing against.
And
Eagles
picks of the
cradling
week. Picks of the week.
Picks of the week. Sorry about that. Jim asked me a question. So,
That's because you couldn't find the script.
yeah, we found it now. Roosters and Donkeys take on Rainmakers. It is an 8.5 point favor. Roosters and Donkeys are the 8.5 point favorite coming to this one. GM, what is your pick?
The Roosters and the Donkeys are going to cover that spread.
Yep. They will cover and win.
Sorry.
All right, fair. 6+R take on Monstars, and I think that the wise guys in Vegas have something on this game that we don't know about because they have 6+R favored to beat the Monstars by 9.5 points.
I'll still take that.
You take the action? You think smart money's on that spread?
I think so too. The biggest issue and the cause for meltdown with 6+R was the relentless rush of Ryan Aridi the last time they faced each other. Fred Bien was far below his usual 70% completion percentage or whatever it is, ridiculously high. I think he was even in the 80s in Div 4. Yeah. But without someone disrupting him as much as Ryan does, he's going to be able to find those open receivers much more frequently, and I would take that spread.
Taking the spread because Rod Mastrou may have a lower body injury. We don't know. We'll figure it out.
They make a blue pill for that.
Give me the 6+R plus points.
All right. Wolverines take on the Raiders, and obviously with the way they've been playing, Wolverines are favored to win this game. They're favored by less than a touchdown, 5.5 points. GM, what's your pick?
The one that went through my head was Wolverines by 2.
Okay, so
Raiders,
you're taking points.
So I'm taking points here. The spread will not be covered here, but I still take Wolverines to win it.
Likewise, I agree.
Cool.
All right, let's go around the room. What did you learn on today's episode?
I learned that I can show up just on time for my podcast and be 2 hours early.
Eagle?
I learned that we should never compromise.
I
Puzzles?
learned that there's some deep anger within Mo Khan.
Oh, I love
I was
it.
happy to see it. Mo
See,
Khan was a real
You
person.
only see glimpses of it, like when you're talking personally to Mo about like specific players or how you should proceed or people who whine.
I learned that we name dropped Ross Castleton in the Shockers twice in this broadcast. Good morning, South Korea.